Call to order, please. Special council meeting, July 24th, 2023. Can we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball.
Who said that?
Okay, folks, the council decided after our last council meeting, 10 days ago, that we should put this together to try to answer some of your questions.
Erica, isn't that supposed to have a light on it?
But
The hockey puck?
Okay, we got you back.
it does have a light on it, it's blue.
Oh.
Well, he's not sure. I'm not 100% either.
Little delay in the other room, I understand, and I apologize for that. Bear with me, because first of all, I want to give you a little bit of background about myself and the history of the revaluations that have occurred in Winslow. Judy, I'm your friendly tax assessor, and I'm here for you. And I welcome everybody and anybody into the office to have discussions, and half of you have done that, and I really, really appreciate it, because it's educating myself and you. A little delay in the other room, I understand, and I apologize for that.
Sorry.
Bear with me.
I don't know why I'm getting that, but
All set?
no, I'm just,
It will be when we flush it down the toilet.
yep, go ahead.
Okay, so, I'm Gray. I've been doing this for a long time. I live in the town of Vassarboro, where I grew up, and I'm the fourth generation to own a farm that my dad worked, and his dad worked, and his grandfather worked. I'm proud to be there, to be honest with you. I lived on the coast for a while, so I've had a lot of experience in demographics as far as the assessing goes. Started out by going to college to learn graphic art. And after working for Down East magazine, I realized I couldn't keep the stability of a job like that. The freelancing wasn't a whole-time thing. So this job came up in the town of St. George, where I lived for about 20 years. And it said assessor's clerk. And me liking math and liking graphic lines with tax maps, I said, well, maybe I could try to do this. And that was old school back in the 90s, really old school. But it was a great way for me to learn not only the way the assessing process works, but then to start getting more and more involved over the years with the tax laws, and actually becoming an advocate at some point in time as far as the laws, working on the language of the law. At one point, I had the privilege of working for Maine Revenue Services in the Property Tax Division for 3 years, and ended up becoming a teacher, an instructor, and also a mentor of other assessors. So I've kind of been around and been there and done that, so to speak. So in saying that, I guess what I want you to know is that I've never lost my integrity and my respect for the taxpayers, because I am one. And I always encourage anybody and everybody, like I said, to come in and be educated on the process. Some of you are not going to have an easy time of accepting the fact that this is state government ruled. I mean, it is something that had to be done, and I'll go into a little detail on that, on the whys and what fors. So for the history of Winslow, I came in 2002. No, let me take that back. 2010. 2008 was our last comprehensive reval like we're having right now. It was high times in Winslow, but it was also a statewide process where everybody felt the need and was basically getting a slap on the wrist by the state to actually do something and equalize these assessments for tax purposes. So I came in, like I said, 2 years after the fact for Winslow, but over the years I made a couple of small adjustments, and I got to know the town and the townspeople very well and the properties themselves. My responsibility was to go out every year and pick up new construction based on building permits that have been issued, land splits, discrepancies in deeds. We had aerial photographs for the first time, and I was able to look at those as well. So assessing is discovery, and discovery means that everybody's being treated the same way. So if I don't know what you have, or I don't know the status of your property, then personally that's on you, because I don't know. And until I do, I can't make adjustments to your property. So fast forward a little bit, for the first 5 to 6 years, the town of Winslow was in really good condition. We'd had the reval, we were pretty much certifying our ratio at about 100%, everything was pretty good. Then people started moving to Maine, and they loved the suburbs, they loved the suburban areas, they loved the rural areas. There were a lot of people coming to Maine to homestead. So market increased, and the type of properties that were once desirable switched to another type of property, and this happens over time. So moving forward again, in about 2016, I was finally seeing some shift in the market, slow and gradual, but still we were already in good shape. I was doing my due diligence and going out and about and picking up new construction, new splits. We were doing great. 2017 and 18 came around and we started slipping. The types of properties that were selling were shifting. The values were increasing on what people were willing to pay for them. We only analyze arm's length transaction, never private sales, and never something that's actually not gone on the market, to be honest with you. It has to be on the market for a little bit, and sometimes never, because you've seen what's happening. So we were still able to certify just under the cusp of 100%. And basically what that means is that every year I get audited by Maine Revenue Services as far as all of my records, all of my numbers, my commitment to the tax collector, which is a list of everybody's names and the amount of tax that's been distributed. Everything was great, except that now we had to shift our tax ratio, our sales ratio, even lower, and we got down to 88%. That meant for the first time, and I knew this was coming, so I wanted to implement something now, or at that point going forward, and have it last a 2 to 3 year process so that we weren't reacting to anything right off. We never react as assessors to the instant market fluctuation. We like to see if it's a trend. So I felt like we were getting into a trend. So I initiated a request to the council and I said, we really need to have a revaluation. We should do it as soon as possible, start getting it implemented. Because at that point, as I said, our sales ratio was dropping and that meant less homestead to you, the exemption. A lot of things had to be factored. A lot of things, it affected and impacted any revenues we got from the state. And to me, that wasn't fair, again, to you guys. I wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page again. But I also saw the shift in the type of sales that we're selling. So moving forward again, I ended up getting the council's blessing on having a revaluation, and I'm sure nobody likes to hear that word, but it was an equalization project and getting everybody back on the same playing field and having a good inventory base. And I say inventory because I've seen it, and if you've come into the office and you've legally come in and gotten a building permit or inquired as to whether you needed one or not, then that was my flag to go out and inspect the property and pick up the new addition. It was never an aggressive move. It was something that was treating you fairly and equitably along with everyone else. Some people do not come in and get building permits. They just don't. They think it's their right to go ahead and put a deck on, build a shed, and it's fine. Some people don't realize they need a building permit, and that's fine. I understand that. But at the same time, when people are doing that, the shift of the burden of the tax is going to those folks that do get building permits. And again, that's not a fair inventory tax base. So that was my #1 goal for having this done, as well as doing a sales analysis of the types of properties that are selling, because I wanted everybody back up to that 100%. Last year, the state auditor came in and said we were dropping down to 77%. And then it was 63. And now our most current audit just in the last year is 45%. Our assessments before reval were 45% of the market value. And what that means is that if I certify our ratio, which you legally have to do to the state within 10% of that number, it would have been around 53 or 55%. That meant you only would have gotten half of your homestead exemption at about 13. You also would have seen a shift in the property tax burden because all of the personal property that gets assessed to businesses would get reduced down to 55%, as well as CMP, distribution, the hydro plant, and everything else losing millions. The shift goes to you. So this in essence is a shift, or it's a new taxable value base that we can go forward with and feel good about, because I want you guys to also feel comfortable in looking up other people's properties and saying, I think that that's pretty close. It's not going to be a perfect science, but you should feel comfortable knowing you're being treated the right way and fairly. So a little assessing 101. I want you to forget about last year's tax rate. I want you to forget about theoretical tax rates, period. Get those right out of your mind. When you look at the town's appropriations this year, they're 9% more than last year. I cannot collect or give to the tax collector anything more in the collection process than what got appropriated, period, which is about 15 million this year. A lot of people, and I get it, I've heard it for a long time. They got an assessment that might have been 70% more, and they immediately think that their taxes are going to be 70% more. They're not. If we increase everybody's taxes 70%, then we're raising well into the 30 million range or 25 million range. We can't legally do that. It would be completely ridiculous. So the budget is still down here to some degree, and the assessments are up here. So the calculation is the budget divided by taxable value. That's the tax rate. There's a lot of different pieces and parts that go into that, but that's what the tax rate is generated by. It's the appropriations that we need to raise, less revenues that we hope to get or plan to get. And that's revenue sharing, education subsidies. We get reimbursements back on homestead exemptions, solar panel residential exemptions, veteran, blind. There are several different programs out there. So that, in a nutshell, is what I look at. I don't have the budget. I'm looking at the assessments and making sure you guys are all on the same page. Then I get the budget and I work out the tax rate. Never in any year since I've been here have I ever had that number until mid-August, ever. And I know that you're anxious for that tax rate. I am too, because it will determine where people are on that new taxable value plane, basically, because some have gone up 70%, some have gone up 45%. I had a mobile home and a trailer park go up 176%. And that's what the market is doing. That's what we have to measure it by, and I know it's hard to hear, but we have to do that. My job in the future, going forward, with this all in place, is to keep track of the market, keep track of the types of properties they're selling, make sure I discover new construction, new land splits, and if I have to go backwards on some of those values, that's my job. But it doesn't change what has to be raised over here. It's not going to be raising less. So I hope I spit that out in a fairly decent way to make it a little bit more understandable. People have questions, and I hope I have the answers, but I did do some research. As much as I don't want to go on Facebook's social media, I did. And I wrote down some of the most common questions, and I thought I would just go through those really quickly, answer those questions to the best of my knowledge, and then open it up to the floor. Personally, because I know a lot of you already, after being here for 13 years, I would like to have you say your name when you ask the question, if you don't mind. So I'm just going to go down through these questions and answers real quickly, and make notes to yourself if you need to, and ask questions. First thing I want to do is I did ask the reval company, who is not completely done with our values yet. We hope to have those done. They'll be delivered to me August 11th. That is the latest contractual agreement date. I have that in my office. When that gets handed over, it's owned by the town and not the reval company. They have no more jurisdiction over it. It's mine. So based on what they've done so far, the overall residential property value has gone up 73%, based on sales, based on what they've discovered out in the field. Single family on the average, 73%. Waterfront, 104%. Condominiums, 63%. Mobile homes, 95%. Multifamily on the average, 80%. And vacant land, 55%. They are still conducting, they're not taking appointments, but they are still conducting in-house and phone call hearings. I've listened to a couple of them. The young guy is very friendly, very nice, but I do have to let people know that when they meet with them, at this point in time, it's really to go over the components of your property, any issues you might have with it. Is the house leaking? If you don't let them know, they're not going to know. what's wrong with the property or what's good about the property, or you may find some anomaly that's completely out. We just found one. I helped them find it. We had a property that got coded incorrectly, as if it was on Patty Pond, and it's not. It's up off the Knoll Road somewhere, and it was a clerical error. So I ask you to either ask me for a copy of your record, as they have it now, go through it, mark it up. If you have an appointment, point that out to them so they can make those corrections. All right. Question number 1. I feel like Johnny Carson. What was the cost of the project? Contract was signed in 2021 of June or July. It cost us $200,000. That equates to $50 a parcel. We have 4,029 parcels. That equates to $50 a parcel. But what would have been the cost difference if we used a Maine company instead of a Massachusetts company? I did a lot of research on this, and I contacted tons of assessors, reval companies, and got a lot of feedback. We have 2 right now that are doing revals in Maine, and that's it. It's Garnett Robinson and RJD Appraisal, Duplessis. Those all ranged from $80 to $109 a parcel in cost, because they're doing it now. So if we'd have waited, it would have cost probably close to double. KRT has got a reval going on in Camden, Rockport, Monmouth, South Berwick, Cape Elizabeth, and Windsor, Maine. Those are all ranging from $70 to $96 a parcel. And then Vision, who is owner of the software program that I use, is quoted in Rockland at $85 a parcel. And many of the towns are still waiting to have their revaluation done, and they're slipping down to the 40s and 50% of market value. So that's not healthy. So I know I've had a lot of people come in and say, why did you have Massachusetts do it? They're bringing Massachusetts numbers in, and that's not true. I'm overseeing this project, and everything they do is Winslow related, period. All of their sales, Kennebec County's typical cost of construction, the economy as we've seen it in the state of Maine is all playing part of this reval. And I asked them to make sure that it stays within our perimeters, and it has. So why an out-of-state company? There are a handful of Maine revaluation companies, and the majority of them don't even use our Vision Camera software. So if we'd have gone with a different company, we would have had to have switched out our software for a lot of money. It's very expensive. And in a conversation with a few assessors just recently, several couldn't even start their reval until 2026. This program provided the most reasonable quote, and they've worked in Maine with very impressive references. They've had a very, very good background check. One of the other questions is, does the reassessment raise more revenue? No. Regardless of the status of assessments, the tax rate is calculated based on what amount we need to raise for the approved budget. It can never be more than that. But why pick this time for a reval? I've heard a lot about that too. That they're bogus. They're bogus. Everything is hocus pocus. If it was hocus pocus, I would have done it myself and saved the town some money. But it's not. There is so much involved in a project like this, and you guys have all participated in it. So, as I said, in January of 2020, I did propose a full revaluation before the town manager and the town council. I'd actually proposed this a couple of times, but we really didn't feel we should spend the money at that point. It was just a part of the voting process. At that time, it was evident that our assessment ratio was dropping, and on top of that, again, our inventory or taxable base was outdated and needed to be revisited. Again, our last reval of comprehensive on-site inspections was 2008. I'm a one-man band, so to speak, so it's really not my radar to be able to do this all by myself. There's no way I could have done it. So in 2021, the council finally approved my recommendation to award the work to KRT Appraisal. This would be a 2-year process with all new assessments in place as of April 1st, 2023. I'll be brief, I promise. If we do not implement this revaluation, we would have to certify our ratio to the state within 10% of the 45. about 54. The homeowners would have seen a major shift in the tax burden onto themselves because the municipality must apply that ratio, as I said, to certain elements of the property assessments. So here's another question. Why did my property assessment increase 70% and the neighbors only went up 50%? Well, it does depend on what the assessment captured prior to the reval. So everybody's not going to go up on this average of 73%. It's completely impossible to do that. Some may go up a little bit more, and that depends on whether the market feels that those properties are more desirable. Maybe people are paying more for the little ranch in a suburban area, or large family tracts out in the rural area are actually getting some money as well. It depends on the times. It depends on the market value analysis they've done. It could be a style of home that's selling better. They put all of this work into this effort to make sure that everybody's being treated the same way. It also depends on whether or not the assessment prior to the reval was actually accurate. Again, if you didn't get a building permit and you finished your basement, then yes, you're going to see a bigger increase in your value because we're finally catching up with it. That's just all a part of the process. Is the purpose of the reval just to increase taxes? I've had this question quite often, and I think it's more of a reaction to the times that we're in. They feel that if our assessments are increased, that next year the council is going to take advantage of that. It's the budget. You have to become engaged in the budget process and go to the workshops to understand how it all works and be attentive to what we're spending money on. No, the assessment work is completed independently of the budget. The council approves the budget and I complete the assessments. And as I said, there's a lot of different factors involved, and I'd more than welcome anybody to come in and sit down with me when I do the tax rate calculation sheet. There's a lot of work involved. Why do businesses get more tax breaks? The state of Maine, actually they don't to some degree, but the state of Maine is the one that passes any laws regarding tax relief. Businesses probably have more money to state their game or go to the legislature and have a personal interest in something that affects or impacts them in a positive manner. So while businesses may qualify for personal property exemptions, which is a business tax, and reimbursements through the personal property tax, residents also have the opportunity for the homestead exemption, the veteran exemption, and the credit fairness program, which is a program a lot of people don't take advantage of. It used to be a local application that got sent to Maine Revenue Services, but now they've incorporated it into an income tax return. Some older folks don't file income tax returns, but there is a separate application that a person can file with Income Tax Division, and that is a measure of your property taxes and your gross salary. If your taxes are more than 4% of your gross salary in a year income, then you can get some money back from the Income Tax Division. Real quickly on the stabilization program, for any of the folks that qualified for the stabilization program, they applied successfully last year, that's in effect for this tax billing cycle. Your tax bill will be separately mailed along with a cover letter explaining that you qualified this year, here's your tax bill, these are the programs that they have now instead. So they are enhancing that program and also what's called the elderly deferral program, which is sort of like taking a loan from Maine Revenue Services to pay your property taxes until you pass away. So my intent is to get this information out to you. We have a class on Wednesday to learn more about these programs, and I will make sure that you all know about what's going on with those. So there are some property tax relief. One of the questions were they able to go into every home, the reval company? No, there's no possible way you can go into like 3,000 homes. Somebody's not home, or somebody didn't want them to come in. Maybe they took the information at the door because the person didn't feel comfortable having them come in. Sometimes they don't have to actually go in because they're so experienced at that point that they know the types of questions to ask you. If there's a situation where you had them out there and you didn't tell them about your leaking roof, then let me know about it. Seriously, it'll come to me. I'll put it down and make that adjustment after they've given it off to me. Anything's wrong with the property components, I will change those before we even go to tax billing. One person asked, so if I come in and appeal my assessment, can I use a bank appraisal? No. The bank owns that appraisal, you don't. And it's done specifically for refinancing, while a town assessment is on a mass appraisal approach within the perimeters of Winslow. Typically, a bank appraisal will go out and about in the community, even outside the limits, and get an assessment done using a certain procedure for getting it. And ours is going to be, everybody gets treated the same way. Everybody with a fireplace gets this X amount of dollars. The reval company is from Massachusetts, so they're using Massachusetts values. No, they, like I said, they only use assessments and sales within Winslow. But what if the market prices drop? If they drop considerably, and I feel that there's a trend to it over a couple of years period, I will reduce the values and the tax rate will increase, because that's what happens when you've got a budget. That is all I have for you at this time. Those were the top questions that were asked, and I welcome questions. If I don't know how you want to do this, but I welcome it.
What we'll do
You've
is,
been very polite so far, thank you.
anybody that wants to ask a question of Judy, please come up to the podium, state your name. Could I get a show of hands as to how many people want to do so? Okay.
I put him to sleep.
No, I think you explained a lot. You did to me, anyway. What do you got?
2 or 3.
Okay,
Good.
we're gonna hold it, if there were a lot of you, we're gonna cut it from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. Go ahead. You have one online, okay.
Sure, go ahead. Stand right up to the podium, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
That'd be great, thank you.
Please state your name.
Is this on, first of all?
It sounds like
Okay.
it.
Thank you, I can't hear. My name is Mary Ann Colanduno. My husband Ted and I we're one of the ones, Judy, that you talked about purchasing a new home here.
Okay.
We moved from out of town, and the reason we picked, and we did a lot of searching, believe me when I tell you that. I think our real estate agents were really upset with us because nothing really worked. When we found Winslow, it worked. So we wanted to be part of the community. We appreciate that we have a police force here who I've talked with. We love this community. But one of the reasons we did this, we are retired. I see your demographic. You would know it better than I do, but we see that it is younger families bringing their children up in what I assume is a really good school system from what I've heard.
Yes.
It is also seniors on fixed incomes like
That's right.
myself and my husband. When I tell you we were a bit surprised, we paid a little more than this house was certainly valued. It was way low. We understood that. We knew the reval was 15 years ago.
Yep.
So we did our homework on this town, and we really did. The problem ensues with the company one thing, try to be brief, but one thing, KRT came in, we did let them in. Young kid.
Yeah.
We knew more than he did. My husband was a builder for many, many years. We know what goes into building a home. We know what's up, what's worth money, what isn't worth money. Our house is not a palace. It was upgraded to a very nice home, which we wanted in the town. So KRT guy comes in, and we didn't know, we showed him around, and that was that. We had upgraded we were in talking with, is it Amos? Ted?
Yes.
Amos, and we love him, and I've met you as well. And we got our permits to redo our garage. So we knew that would be certainly effective
Sure.
because it was falling down. Had
Yeah.
we not done anything, our cars could not be parked in there. There were a lot of problems with the property. We tried to point these out to the KRT guy, one of which is our property flooding. At the point, we're on Marie Street, right between Paul, closer to Paul,
Okay.
than all the way up in back. Pointed that out to anybody who will listen. We made an appointment. My husband actually went down and talked to Paul in the Public Works Department.
Oh,
Wonderful
yep.
man. He's going to see what he can do to address this because
Oh,
it is
good.
the road, not our property.
Right.
And it all floods into it. The people prior to us buying it had done a lot of work in that area because we understood that the property flooded really badly before we purchased it.
Okay.
But they took, T.C. Hafford came in. put
Excuse
in-
me, ma'am.
Yes.
You've got 30 seconds left. Do you
Oh,
have a
okay.
question of Judy?
I do.
Okay.
Any rate, the increase that we saw was 108%. That's a lot. 130,000 this went up. So it seems to me that 100% now that it seems to be valued at, the other towns around, yours being one, at 100%, Vassalboro, China, even Camden, Maine, I know they're going to be reval. They have, they're going into rates that are in the $12, $13, $14 in
Yeah.
Vassalboro
I have a feeling
rates.
we will.
That's where it should be.
Yeah, I
So
have a
I'm
feeling it
saying,
will
will
be.
our rate, our mill rate, be in that kind of category?
I have
and not
no doubt that it will be.
Not 17, 18, 20?
No,
Okay.
forget
So
the
we need
tax
to be
rate,
down in
seriously.
the 12,
Yep.
in the 10. And the other thing are the things, and we'll make an appointment with you because I don't want
Yeah,
to waste
that'd be
everybody's time.
great.
We're at
But
almost
we
4
have
minutes. I have to shut
problems
this
with
off.
that KRT. They said we had things in our home that we do not have.
Yeah.
Excuse me, excuse me.
Sorry.
We're well over 4 minutes.
well,
I have
thank
to
you
be
for that.
fair. I'm
Get in
sorry.
touch with me.
You,
Yes.
if you get
Please.
in touch with Judy, you
Please
have
do.
all the time you want with her in
Yeah,
private.
absolutely. Please do that. What Marie Street number? 21. Thanks.
Okay, who would like to speak next?
it's a question.
Excuse me?
It's a question.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind everybody, questions of Judy, please.
Good evening, everyone. Brad Whitaker from 114 Perch Road on Patty's Pond. My question to Judy is, you mentioned that the revaluation is based on sales.
Mostly sales, yep.
On Patty's Pond,
And
how
cost
did
of
they
construction.
determine the sale value and the price for the land?
You'd have to ask them at this point. It has not been delivered to me. Honestly, it has not.
Do you know the valuation which they're giving it for an acre on the front?
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I have been working straight
Okay.
out trying to get everything else done.
Okay. Because what happens on Patty's Pond is that a vast majority of the properties are very small.
Yeah,
So if the front acre is worth 204,000,
Yeah.
it's a number I heard, then I have 1/6 of an acre.
yep.
It's valued at 133,000.
It won't be at a sixth of the total value. It's on a root curve. It's on a, yeah.
Well, but 1/6 of an acre, 133,000. Right near me, it didn't go on the market, I will agree to that, it did not go on the market. There was a property with a 40 by 120 size
Yeah,
that sold for 31,000. And that isn't quite 1/6 of an acre, but it's close.
I would come in and we can go through some of those. Again, this reval, when it gets delivered to me, I have to learn it as well. And I can't answer what they've done yet, just the whole methodology and the way the process is done. But Brad, please, feel free to come in.
Okay, so that will be August 11th.
Have you met with them?
I did not, because I wasn't, generally, when you meet with them, the things you can talk about are things specific to your property. This is not a specific thing, it's to all the properties around the pond.
Okay.
So they're basing it on that piece of pizza idea.
Okay. The
You buy a whole
waterfront.
pizza for $10, if you buy each piece, it's $3 and it adds up to 18. So
Yep,
it's like,
that's the root. That's, yep, sales.
but
that's-
133 times 6?
No, it won't be times 6.
But I
That's the
mean,
same way with little
if I
quarter
own a
acre lots in
sixth-
town.
If I own 1/6 of an acre and it's 133,000, that means a 1 acre is valued at 800,000. I
No,
mean,
that's not, you're not using
but I
the root
mean-
curve I talked
But
about.
that's how much money they're getting from all of us people that have these little pieces. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Do you want me to see who's outside? Do you want me to see who's...
When everybody's done in here, sure.
Hi, I'm Dave McIntyre. I live at 9 Bluebird Lane, right down the lane from Mr. Whitaker on Patty Pond. I'm a summer resident, I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm here all summer at Patty Pond. I just have 3 quick questions. And if I missed this at the very beginning, I walked in just a minute or two after you started, Judy. When were the on-site visits actually done?
They were the fall and winter, if I remember right, of 2021. And then they caught up with folks, I believe, that next spring and summer. For those that weren't home, they sent out letters and said, please contact us for an inspection.
So initially, whenever they were done in the fall and the winter of '21, a letter would have gone out to every resident in the township?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember getting that letter, but I could have. So I will, I'll admit to that. And my third question was just, if you know, to use Patty Pond as an example, since that's personal to me and to Brad, approximately how many of the properties on Patty Pond would have been physically visited?
Every single one has been visited and measured, but any follow-up appointments would have been done either by calling them and asking them to come out. At one point, it became so much work as far as trying to get some of the seasonal people around and some of the people that are working, that they were allowing me to actually talk with the taxpayer and go through the record with them as if I was doing the inspection, which
Okay.
really worked out well.
So if I heard from no one other than potentially I got
Yeah.
a letter and somehow
Right.
it didn't register back in Pennsylvania or wherever, then somebody came and measured
Yes.
outside dimensions of the property
Yep,
and
and then they had a second person actually go out and do field review to make sure that the records that have been done looked okay at that point. That was
Okay.
Kevin Lean.
there's no acknowledgement sent to the owner that this has happened.
Not at this point, well, no, that's just now that's the notices of value at this point. But everybody got postcards before they visited the properties to let them know they were in the area.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
certainly feel free to
I
come
don't
in and we
believe
can
I
go
ever
over the
got that
record.
postcard, but that I can't
we
say
can go
that.
over the record
So that's
together.
fine, we'll check to make sure.
Yeah, we should.
But I'm a little surprised that absent that, there's been no communication with me as a property owner on Patty Pond about this.
You didn't get a letter of notice?
Until the
Oh.
letters that tell me, oh, guess what? It's now,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
they've sent me spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of
Yeah.
everybody that got letters and postcards.
well, my questions
And I
are
can
more
share
process
those.
than they are, you know. So there they are.
Come in, Dave.
Well, you take me a few minutes to get there.
It's all right.
We'll get there.
Take your time.
We won't start until you start talking. How's that?
Just don't stop when I start. But anyway, Jim Byrne, 295 Garland Road. And Judy, I want to thank you for your explanation. And I understand the reevaluation process. I mean, it's a state law, 10 years. And it seems like we've been longer than 10 years, right? Has it been 15?
We've been 15 years. I did a statistical update in 2014 where I sent letters out to everybody confirming their property assessments. I did some tweaking of Patty Pond. I did some tweaking of mobile homes sitting in a park, but that was all that was necessary at that point.
So why was the 15 years instead of 10 years if it was a state law?
I couldn't get the approval.
Say what?
I couldn't get the approval to spend money on it.
The council wouldn't approve it, Jim.
What year was it? That was, okay. So that's why.
That's the truth. That's the reason.
Okay. So basically, I guess, this all comes down to the tax rate, mill rate, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. So the town council will be going through a budget appropriations in August.
That's the first step, and they've already done it.
Okay.
Yep, that's all been approved.
I mean, you guys, I'm not gonna ask you guys, but I guess Judy, what do you guys think where the mill rate's gonna come? I mean, I know this is a $1 million question, but obviously it's gonna be going down. I would hope.
It's definitely going to go down, and if you think about the 9% increase in the budget, and in a perfect world, your taxes are probably gonna go up 8 to 9%, maybe. Some might see a 10 or 11%, some might see an 8% because of the valuation increase on their properties. And I
So-
honestly don't know, and I
No.
would
I mean,
like to think that it's going to be down around 12, because it's been up around 21.
So basically, I'm on the clock, but,
That's
I
okay.
mean, once the town council gets their budget together, then we will more than likely have another informal meeting, I would think, when we know what the mill rate is.
Well, their budget's all done, and then I calculate the tax rate. That's on me.
Okay, I understand that, but let's say we know what the mill rate's gonna be at some point. And
Yeah.
we're gonna have another informal meeting with the citizens of Winslow. That's when we're gonna know what our taxes are gonna be, right?
I'm not sure what that would,
I mean, basically, what I'm asking, once you guys do your budget and you figure out the tax rate, mill rate,
well, I'm gonna back up a little bit.
you already
because-
did it.
Okay.
Okay, so you already did it, so we know what the mill rate is, right?
No, the budget is the first step. That's an amount of money given to me in a spreadsheet saying, this is what we want to raise, these are the revenues we expect to come in. I've got that over here.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm working on all the assessments and working with the reval company, get those values done. Once I have a taxable value, then I put everything together, and I've never done that before the middle of August, because I never have all the numbers yet.
I guess you guys maybe understand.
We've actually gone through this every single year where,
I know, but we
Yeah.
haven't done an evaluation like a lot of these people.
but we're still raising
I
an
understand.
amount of money.
Time's
I
up. Jim.
know.
I mean, there's a lot of concern with people, of course, you know.
It is, that is the concern.
I mean, I bought a 1.9 acre lot, which is not buildable, okay, back of my house, for $9,000 2
Yep.
years ago. They come up and said it's worth $43,000.
That's the market. If it's,
It's not a buildable
Okay,
lot.
okay.
Call
Time,
me.
you're at 4 minutes.
call me.
Boy,
It goes fast, sorry.
I gave you 2 warnings, Jim. I'm trying to be polite.
Jim, call me.
Call Judy.
Come in.
All right, whoa, give us more time, yeah?
no, that's all right.
I know what he's getting at, and I feel it, I do.
I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as long as you guys, I mean, with the budget, that's why we voted you guys in. We know you'll do the right thing, and there's just a lot of people concerned with their taxes.
It's what it's all comes down to. Yeah.
See if anyone else.
Anybody else in the room want to speak?
Hi, Judy.
Hi,
I'm
Todd.
Todd McDonough, Petty's Pond. Is there anyone else that had a 242% increase?
I would say not, and we had this discussion, and you've got an appointment with them. And my discussion with you is, this is going to happen. This is actually gonna happen. I've found some issues already. And again, once it's delivered to me in August, I own it, and I can then make my own adjustments if I feel that they're necessary. With your property and our discussion, I said to you, I didn't think that the type of home classification was correct. I know your property as well as you do probably. I've been out there almost every year. We've had
Yes.
conversations.
Increases when you came out and looked at it?
Exactly.
But to
So
go
I
from that to
I
now,
actually completely agree with you. The only difference in your property is that it's year-round, and that's the only difference. That does have a little more value to it. I don't know how much, but
Right.
I definitely entertain a conversation if you don't get anywhere with them,
okay,
okay?
All right.
Seriously,
thank you.
okay.
Is there
What's
anyone
that?
else in here?
Yep, this gentleman.
Fred Navick, 12 Goodrich Lane. Just a quick question. Is there some place that on the website or KRT can provide where it actually defines what they consider good, average,
That's
poor
such a
condition?
good question. I know. I have, and anybody's more than welcome to it, I have the assessment manual that they go by. and I have the type of property that they're picking up. I actually sat down with them in the very beginning and said, no, I don't want the little metal sheds picked up. No, I don't want this picked up or that picked up, but yes, please pick those up. So I decided with them what I felt was taxable as far as real estate goes. So as far as the quality of the construction and the condition, that is subjective to some degree. It really is.
That's the part I'm getting at.
Absolutely.
You know, 2-story, 1-story, has a basement, has a deck, no deck.
Exactly. That's the
Where is
components.
where is the
It's-
mathematical calculation that any one of us can go to and do our own appraisal?
Yep, no, I completely get it. What I can do at this point is I can run like this tiny little report that shows you how the value got calculated on any property. It's just like a little teeny cheat sheet of math. But I also have the property record cards that I've been printing off right and left for everybody. You can go down through it, first of all, and check the components. And then, in your mind, you're going to know what other properties that might be similar to your own and go, why are they getting an A grade quality of construction and I'm getting an A plus 20? You know, something like that, where you can compare your properties that way. And also the condition of the property is subjective to some degree. If they know that you have a 50-year-old home and it's been completely gutted and redone on the inside, then you've lengthened the life of that property and the condition goes from average to very good. Now, that's typical, that's easy to understand. But I think, I mean, I can have that conversation with you as well, just based on my experience and what I've done in my career. But how they've gotten to it, I think, is mostly based on what they see, and also based on experience, but also based on any updates that you may have made to the property to enhance the life of it.
So where do we see this information?
I said I have an assessment manual that anybody can look at, absolutely.
Okay. At your place?
Yes, and the state also has guidelines as well in their state manual.
Okay.
But absolutely, I welcome anybody to come in, it's an open book.
Just a clarification, the card that you said?
Yes.
Property something card?
Yes, property record card.
So that describes the property?
Yes, it does.
No, you're good.
Yes.
What they use?
Yep, yep,
Oh,
So we can ask you for that?
absolutely.
Hi, Jeff LaPonte. I live on Whipple Street, and you said the average was between 50 and 70% increase. Well, mine went up 112%.
And what I'd want to do is, honestly, for me personally, I always ask the person when there's a problem like that to come in so we can look at it.
The only thing that I've changed is I put a heat pump in my home.
Yeah. Oh, what did it cost you? No, I'm just teasing you. What did it cost you? No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously, if you haven't made an appointment, if you have you made an appointment with them? Not a problem. Please just come in and we'll go over it. There's something might stick out at me, you know?
And the two homes next to me are deteriorating. And,
Yeah,
I don't feel as though that.
And that's smart on your part, because you're seeing that glaring thing at you that just doesn't make sense. You know that your value is up there, but at that degree, there might be a question as far as what they've done with it. It could be a code, it could be a clerical error, it happens.
Okay.
And I, for one, would love to look at the property and tell you what I think.
Okay.
Seriously,
Thank
please
you.
come in.
Quick question, would you say heat pumps generally add value to the home?
They do add a little value, but not much. It's just like having it'd be like having radiant heat instead of air ducts or something. You know, it does. People would rather have that. Not much, though.
Okay, so the state wants us to save energy and then.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get assessed for it. Exactly.
Steve Joseph on Poland Street. All I'm just going to say is you're going to discourage, not you personally, but the budget that you people make up are going to discourage people from improving their homes. That's it.
anyone else in the room? Okay, go ahead, Audra.
Hi, my name is Doris LaBranch. I live on 1 Getchell Lane here in Winslow. I'm originally from Sand Hill in Augusta. I'm number 9 out of 10 children. I've worked extremely hard my entire life to get to where I am today, and I feel like everybody wants a little piece of my pie. Judy, I'm not here to question the integrity of your work. Earlier, you had stated that this project cost $200,000.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at your website right now, and according to Erica Lacroix, town manager, this project actually costs $365,000.
Yes, please.
I got that number from what we originally looked at when in the capital budget several years ago. I was incorrect. Judy has the correct number, done the math at the $50 per parcel and gone over the bills, and she is correct at the $200,000.
Okay, so it's $200,000. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
That's okay, so am I.
Okay, my concern is, you had said people from out of state want to move to Maine.
Well, no. Well,
Oh, they are moving to Maine. They're coming with
And
a
that's
lot of
good,
money.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not here to, I'm not here to
Right.
say the value of my home is not what it's being assessed
Right.
at. It is. Unfortunately, my income has not increased 50%, 100%. The home values have increased because people coming from out of state with all their money, they can
Right.
come and pay $300,000, $400,000 cash. It's nothing to them. I've worked extremely hard my whole life. I want to keep what I have worked extremely hard for. Most people here can't pay these prices. How do you expect people to pay these prices when our salary has not increased a lot,
So you're.
kept up with
there's-
inflation?
Yep, and I completely understand you, and that's exactly the types of questions I've been getting as well. You have assessments that have been equalized, and you have a town budget. So it's important to stay tuned into the budget as it increases every year, because that's what's triggering your property taxes. The assessments are all being done at the same time. If one person got a higher assessment on their property, which I unfortunately did find one a couple of years ago, and it made me sick to my stomach, but he was under the radar, and we increased it by almost $300,000. He had done so much work to this property. And his taxes went up a lot because he was a single entity where everybody else was over here. But he finally got caught up with the system of property taxes. So I completely understand you, and we can't raise any more than the budget. So even if your assessment's gone up, we're not raising more money than what we appropriated.
Okay, I have another question. I believe there was another tax increase or an assessment done in 2008. Does my memory?
That's our last revaluation.
2008. And wasn't the mill rate increase last year or the year before from 20 to 21, and now it's going up again?
Yeah. That's the
mill rate-
increase in the budget.
Okay.
But it won't be that much. It won't be. It's going to be way down. I can't make any guesses, but I know it's going to be below 15. It's got to be. It just
People are going
has
to lose
to
their
be.
homes.
No,
We worked extremely hard our
Yeah.
whole lives for a little piece of the
But
American dream.
that's not relative to the assessments.
Time's up.
Okay.
Can I address you, ma'am?
Sure.
Just 10 seconds. What Judy has been trying to say is the values are going up on paper. The tax rate is going to go down. In a perfect world, there's going to be a small percentage of people that will pay more taxes because of all kinds of reasons, and a small percentage that will pay less taxes for all kinds of reasons. The majority of the community, the tax bill will stay current, other than the increase for the budget. And we had to increase the budget this year because of school, because of fuel, because of all kinds of problems that we're incurring in pricing. But for you to think your taxes are going to double or go up 50% or 70%, then it's not happening.
They won't.
It's not happening. This is all a mathematical equation.
I know, it's hard
Do
to.
you?
Oh, no, I'm married to an accountant. So we're looking at the numbers and we're having heart palpitations.
No,
Yeah.
you're
I may
thinking.
I'm not well-versed
I
in
get
speaking
it.
in front of public, but bottom line is the numbers don't lie.
The bottom line is your taxes are not going to double. They're not going to go up 50%. They're not going to go up 30%.
Is this meeting being recorded, or do we have a transcript available so you can put that in writing?
The budget went up 9%.
No, that's kind of,
It is being recorded.
that's
Oh,
not
thank
right.
you, that's great. Thank you.
Good job.
Could you tell us where and when, or does the public, does the homeowner get to vote on the budget? When is that?
And that's the difference between a town council and the town selectmen. The select,
Go ahead.
There's no more.
This may sound like it, Dave McIntyre again from Bluebird Lane and Patty Pond. This may sound unrelated, but there are scads of properties that I drive by that are ruins, uninhabitable. I assume the amount of taxes that Winslow is getting from those properties is minimal. Because if you evaluated them, they're not worth anything. So my question is, what does Winslow do to remedy that situation? How do we deal with these properties that, if we want to talk about the value of our properties, they're not helping the value of our properties.
right.
As people drive by them in our
It's a good public
neighborhood.
comment for the
So
council.
I don't expect a long answer. I
No,
just want to
it's a
raise
good
that issue
question.
because it seems to me that there is something related to to the value of our properties as relates to that. And taxes that we could be taking in if there was something
were
done about.
enhanced.
There are a lot of them, you know better than I do, but
Anyone else?
I didn't use my time up. Can I come up again?
So I've been before this town council a year ago complaining about abandoned houses. And what's been done about it? Anything?
Yes, we have put in place a property maintenance ordinance. We have acted on a couple of properties thus far. What will happen with these abandoned properties is we will go through the legal procedures and deal with them. We now have an ordinance in place to deal with them. That's about all I can legally say at this point, but we have means to work with that. Whereas before, we did not. We just had to sit back and watch it happen. If they didn't pay their taxes, we acquired the property, cleaned up the mess, and sold it. Now, we can clean the mess, attach it to the tax bill. There's all kinds of avenues the town can take to deal with that.
Are you doing that?
Yes, we are.
That's what I want to hear.
We are, yep.
You all set? You all set?
We have one online.
We have several online.
Town council, how does that work?
Can you, do you mind explaining to her the difference on how the budget's approved?
So the budget goes through several steps. The first step in the budget is the department heads deliver their budget request to me as the town manager. There's certain cost centers that I determine without department heads because there aren't any departments. These are more of the general cost centers that kind of are umbrella type that cover most departments in the town. Individually, though, each department submits their budget to me. They're supposed to do that by early to mid-January. And then I meet with each department head and we start talking about whether the request is reasonable or not, why do we need the things that are in there, are there opportunities to cut? In some cases, did we budget enough? Because we know, for instance, we know fuel's going up. Did we budget enough there? Once I have met with the department heads, then I put together my budget, which is presented to council. Then we have several budget workshops. They are open to the public for participation. We discuss every budget by department. This year, we took the extra step of doing actual presentations for each department, and they were very informative and very helpful. They were time-consuming, but they brought the budget, and so you can understand why. Why do we need to spend this money? What are you getting for your money? Okay? I will reiterate that Winslow, despite the tax increases we've had in the 2 years prior, is actually got some of the most services for the lowest mill rate around. No, we're not the lowest mill rate, but we're the only one in the immediate region that provides completely free curbside trash pickup. We have been improving our public safety response by adding more EMTs. You've got the ambulance service now, and we can take away any number of things. The biggest impact on the budget, though, right now, is your capital budget, because we were able to take monies from sale of property, the Orion Rope Building. We put $900,000 into capital 2 years ago. That meant that we didn't have to appropriate that money. That kind of delayed having to increase your taxes for that. Last year, we got ARPA monies, and we had some windfall revenues that we didn't expect, and we chose to put those into capital in the prior fiscal year and just start those projects early, okay? So that also further deferred the impact of what capital was going to cost. This year, there's no ARPA money. We didn't sell any big properties. And on top of that, the cost of paving materials, the cost of pretty much every type of construction is up considerably from what it was before. At the same time, we're getting a lot of demands, fix our roads, and I agree, the roads here need to be fixed. So there comes a point when there has to be a choice. And educating you as the public, you have to decide, and no, you don't get to vote on it because council does the vote, but you have the opportunity to speak at the budget workshops. There is a public hearing prior to the actual vote for the budget, which generally 1 or 2 people show up for. And there is feedback. You can have feedback with your counselors. Ask questions. You can talk to me about why we're spending so much money. I have offered from some of the biggest detractors on Facebook, come in, we'll sit down with the books, we'll go over them. We can go over this line by line, and you tell me where you think we should be cutting the budget. But part of what makes Winslow the great place to live in that you all like so much is the amount of services we provide. So if we're going to continue to provide those services, this is what it costs. Otherwise, we can back off services, but y'all are gonna have to kind of come up with the ideas of where you wanna cut, and then probably half of you aren't gonna like the ones that we cut, and half of you aren't gonna like somebody else's ideas for what we cut. It's all gonna depend on your individual priorities. So that's where council comes in, as your elected representatives, and makes those decisions. Can I ask the online questions yet?
Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Okay, so from Nancy Halsey, she wants to know, why did waterfront properties go up an average of 104%?
I don't have that information yet because I don't own the values, but my guess is that they appreciated faster than residential homes. They were undervalued.
Okay. So when we get the final valuation, there would be a better answer for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. From David Perry, how come houses with high property values who didn't see a large increase in value will see a decrease, and all the lower valued properties that went up 70 to 100% will shoulder that burden? Feels like we're taxing the wrong people. I had answered on that. That's not necessarily the case. These are individual. He further states, why is the mega mansion on Taylor Road going down thousands of dollars in taxes, and people who have lower values that saw these huge increases in property value will go up 40%?
It didn't go down.
The mega mansion is a unique property that was already assessed at its highest and best use, and it was probably overassessed, and this is what happens when we have an equalization. I've already actually talked with the owner of that property. She thought her assessments were going to double as well, or taxes. And I don't think I could place a value on that property. It's unique, it has sold. We have a sale price for it. And it was very close to what it was already being assessed for. So it's not going to go up that much. Other properties are appreciating more. That, again, that's a unique property, and it's not going to be something that everybody's going to go jump and run and buy. I can't wait till August 11th so that I can honestly wrap it up and learn it.
Okay. That was David Perry. I have a question from Lynette Casey. With the property values around Patty's Pond going up, does that mean the town will start maintaining the roads around the pond and ensuring emergency response can respond to those properties? Did the value of these properties take into account the fact that roads to the homes are not maintained?
Again, it's all based on market value. If the properties are selling for that on average, then that's how they get assessed. That is the tool that the state gives us. It's according to just value. That's a Maine state constitution. So if there's sales of properties of a certain type or a certain demographic that has more value than something else, then we capture that.
I think also it should be noted, those are privately owned roads. So again, the town doesn't maintain them. If we take them over, that, yes, your taxes would go to pay for those. Tax rate's probably gonna go up, because we're taking on more miles of road that the town has to maintain. So it's an offset there. That's all I have online.
Okay. At this point, I know Ray had something he'd like to say. Anybody of the council would like to say something?
Well, first of all, it was a very difficult budget season, and the mill rate did increase, is going to increase substantially because of that budget. That's not on the reevaluation. That's 100% on the council. That's 100% on me, because after going through the budget season, we felt that we needed to increase the budget 8 to 9%. So without the reevaluation, when you got your tax bill, there was going to be a, wow, my taxes increased. And that's all on us. That's all on the council, because we decide what the budget's going to be. So if you're, and then to throw on another wrinkle, we did a reevaluation, and we don't have a lot of time for people to plan for their tax bill. It is, it's a timing issue. I think that's extremely unfortunate at this point in time. And so a lot of people don't know how to budget, and they don't know what the effects will be. And given the next 2 weeks, we'll have a lot more answers and a lot more questions. But the other thing I would like to say is the town of Winslow is blessed to have Judy Matthew as our assessor. I think that any town in the town of Maine would appreciate the expertise and the knowledge that she brought to this process. And Judy, I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I know you're handling a lot of issues, but a lot of the issues also is the council bears responsibility for the increases in taxes that we're going to see. And that falls, you know, I can say that falls entirely on my shoulders, because we went through the budget process. It's an extensive process. We have a lot of tough decisions to make. If you look at garbage collection, and I know it sounds like, oh, garbage collection, but that's roughly, in the town of Winslow, per cost per year is $1 million. If we would have eliminated trash pickup in the town of Winslow, we would have had a very modest increase. But we didn't feel that was a service that we could provide at a cost that would be beneficial to the town of Winslow. So we kept it. And those are the type of decisions that we made. Chaffee Brook, if you look at Chaffee Brook, we have to put 2 new pipes across the river to the sanitary treatment plant.
Right.
Just, yep, sorry, I got 3 minutes too. But all I'm saying.
Three pipes.
Yep, so, but, 3 what?
3 pipes.
Yeah.
3 pipes across the river.
Oh, 3 pipes across the river, right. Well, so those are costs that are extremely, and so I just want to say again, Judy, thank you, and Erica, thank you for your effort, and hopefully we'll get through this in the next couple of weeks.
Rocky?
I would just like to encourage people during the budget process to either get a hold of the council and to make yourself educated on what we're actually looking at as far as the proposals and everything. I know Erica does an awesome job putting it up online, and if anybody can't get online, you can go to the town office and get this information. But your feedback is going to help us determine what you guys want. So without that feedback, we're going on what we think is best for the town and what we hear. But honestly, if I've had 4 people maybe get a hold of me during budget season with issues, that would be high. So I would encourage everybody to get a hold of your councilman, town officials, and, you know, say your piece. If you don't think you want garbage pickup, if we hear from enough people, then as your elected officials, you know, we want to listen to you, and we want to go with what the majority of the town wants. And we feel that's the only way that we're going to do it, so. I just encourage everybody to participate in town government.
Jerry?
Well, one of the things is that by looking at the audience, I believe that most of you are senior citizens on fixed income. I'm a senior citizen. I'm 77, I'm not afraid, and I'm on a fixed income. That's where you are nervous about. You don't know how long you're gonna live or what your health status is gonna be. But if I don't get information or feedback from all our citizens, what we have for a budget is probably what's gonna get passed.
Jeff? No? Dale?
No, I think I'm all set, Peter.
Judy?
Come in. We'll go over, I want to talk with Todd afterwards too, because I just thought of something when you said something about your pond property. And Lee, I don't know if he's...
Yeah, Lee?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I was born and raised in this town, and I take a lot of pride in this town, and I want to do everything I can to make this town prosper. I know I've been told that I don't listen to people that contact me or people that comment on any posts or whatnot, social media or whatever, but I really take this job very serious. And I try to do my very best I can every day to make this town the great town it is. And I, like other councilmen have said, if you have comments or concerns, please contact us. Because I've had more people contact me just recently about this reevaluation than combined than the 4 years that I've been on the council. So I encourage everyone to get involved, get educated with what the issues are, and give us some positive feedback. I know there's been a lot of negative comments and concerns, but a lot of the time, most of the time, those comments are usually done after the fact, after the budget's already been done, after we've already voted on something, and then people think that they can voice their concerns, and to be honest, you really can't back that up. Go back to where it started. We need the feedback before we vote, not after. Thank you.
Jim?
I would just like to say, I agree with you, and I think you guys do a good job. I think a reevaluation has just been a shock for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why, the good thing is, you're getting input right now. It might be too late because of the budget, but take my hat off to you guys, because it is a difficult job. I've been there, done that. And I think with the evaluation, everybody's properties, I mean, evaluations went up so high. And it's just, as the process goes, and the mill rate, we'll figure it all out. But I agree with you, we should be more involved with the maintenance, we're fat and happy, we stay home. Right? But anyway, it is what it is.
Thank you. Give me a call sometime, Jim, and we'll talk.
Okay, in the meantime, all I have to say is, again, please, if you have any issues going forward, get in touch with Judy, please. If your properties have been misappraised, there's a remedy. There's an avenue to take to deal with this. But at the end of the day, when this is all done and all the dust settles, like I said earlier, you've got a percentage that will go up, those that didn't get permits, those that are under-evaluated. My properties were under-evaluated. I'm gonna take a hit. No problem. We gotta deal with it. Some will go down. For the most part, they're gonna stay current, other than the increase of the budget. And the only way we can defend that budget is the price of everything has gone through the roof. We can't tell Peter to stop running the school buses, you know, the price of fuel, the price of heating, all the, you guys are homeowners, you know what's going on. We're doing the very best we can. I can say that I have paid attention to the councils for 40 years, this council is probably one of the hardest working councils that this town has ever had. We look our information over well before the meeting. We read, we talk to people. People ridicule us for that. So be it. I'm pretty thick-skinned. We'll move forward. A lot of the problems with the budget, again, are catching up. When you have 8 years of no increases in any mill rate, while the inflation rate was in the 2 and 3 percentile every year, you're gonna pay for that. They brought paving down to $200,000 a year. We're spending damn near $1 million a year since I've been on the council trying to catch up, and we're not catching up. The roads are horrible. But that all costs money. We're doing the very best we can. But I can't, again, as the rest of them are saying, I probably heard from 4 people on this reval. I never heard from a soul. I think I heard from you, Jim, on the budget. You know, there's a handful of you that will call out, or I'll come over to the shop and we'll talk. I'll never turn anybody down other than after 8 o'clock at night. Talk to you in person, talk to you on the phone. Let us know what you want and what you don't want. The reval had to be, we were 5 years overdue with the state. We lost revenue last year. We were gonna lose a ton this year from the state had we not done it.
Can I
Again,
say one more thing when you're done?
yeah, we should have done it 5 years ago. The values wouldn't be where they are, but I can't speak for past councils. Go ahead, Judy. I'm done.
Just want everybody to know, again, whoever qualified for the stabilization program will get a separate mailing with a tax bill designed just for you that's going to look just like last year's. I'm going to do a separate mailing. It will also have a cover letter in it that will explain the other types of programs that are now available through the income tax division. I'll answer any questions you have about that. We had a hard time trying to figure out how to send a tax bill that mirrors last year because of the systems that we work with, but I decided it was best to just send out a tax bill personalized for you to mirror last year. That will be your responsibility. The other part I wanted to point out, and I meant to do this earlier, is that we're still in the hands of the reval company. There are still hearings going on. There are still commercial properties that have not had their notices sent to them yet. That will be done shortly. Again, the contractual agreement is that that project gets delivered to our office on August 11th. At that time, it's all on me. So if you have a problem before tax bills go out and you didn't get your answers from the reval company, come and see me, please. It may delay the actual tax billing a little bit, but it's worth it. I want to iron this out ahead of time. If I don't think that it needs to be changed, because what's on the books looks accurate to me, based on what they've done, then after tax bills go out, you also have the right to appeal your assessment. Burden of proof is on you as far as telling me what the assessment should be, and it comes directly to me at that point, officially. If I deny it, we have a local Board of Assessment Review that is currently being trained. They're going to workshops, they're learning the freedom of access, they are on board, and they will listen to your concerns if I deny it. You have a process in place, and anybody has any questions, please feel free to just come in and talk with me. But that's it.
Judy, can I ask one?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify on the relief, the senior relief
Yes.
tax bills. Originally, we had talked that you were still going to send out the regular tax
Yes.
bill, but with a notice that this is
Yes.
not your real
That's
tax
right.
bill. So people will get two,
Yes.
and the
We
one
are-
that is
yes.
frozen for the tax relief is the real one. I just don't want people to
I
be
know,
surprised
it's-
when they get two bills and confused. So
There's no way we can get around it. It's a very confusing process, and it's going away after this, but we thought maybe a nice cover letter with a personalized tax bill that matches last year would be good, even though you'll get your original tax bill.
Judy, I heard that the tax stabilization program from Augusta was voted out.
It is.
So
It's
this
been
is the
repealed.
only year
is it.
that will be taking advantage of that, and
Yeah.
then things will
This
go
will
back
be
to
it.
increasing for seniors again.
Yes. Unbelievable. That's right. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, that's right. We'll put that all in the cover letter.
Excuse me, I got a question. So,
Come up to the podium, come on up, please.
Paula Breck, Morrill Road. So Ray mentioned that the budget went up 8 or 9%. So is it logical to assume that that's what our taxes are gonna go up, 8 or 9%?
That would be the
that
logical assumption.
Thank you.
If, in a perfect world.
Let me explain. Just real quick,
It's
sir.
not.
Without the revaluation being done, forget that even happened, if you can. The increase in the budget was, I think, $1.1 or whatever it was. That translates to $136 per 100,000 valuation. So if your old valuation was 100,000, your tax bill would have gone up $136. If your house was worth 200,000 on the old valuation, it would have gone up twice that. That was because of the increase in the budget, without this revaluation. So your taxes will probably go up that much based on basically the old valuation, which will be on average, which will be calculated into the new one. But that's what your taxes would have gone up, but for if there was no revaluation at all.
So are you saying the reevaluation is supposed to increase that for people?
It depends on the valuation of your properties, on how that relates and where the final mill rate comes out at.
Yeah, if your assessment went up only 30%, somebody else's went up 50%, yours will not increase as much. You're gonna hold me to that, aren't you? Yeah.
A very, very quick question. There are a couple of commercial evaluations that you have to personally do.
There are, that's,
Hydro dam,
yep, that's correct.
CMD.
Yep, that's very correct.
Is there a likelihood that those will not go up much, or will they go up?
The hydro dam might see a little bit of a decrease because of the generation recently on the lower Kennebec. A little bit, but we had also reduced it already last year because we were not certified at 100%. So it might be a wash on that one. CMP have already increased a little bit, as well as their corridors. So I've increased that one, and we've got Summit Natural Gas, we've got BD Solar, and so all of those, because we had to reduce them last year because of our ratio, will now come back up to 100%. So that's good.
But it looks like they will not get the doubling in their value.
No,
So their taxes will not go
I think
up.
that they were pretty close to pat before. I really do.
So
yeah.
how big of a chunk of 1.3 million are we not going to get help on those properties with?
Like I said, the CMP, I think I actually went up over 2 million on those. So that helps. Summit Natural Gas will probably be a wash. It's just that one 10-inch pipe. We have no distribution on that, no hookups. It goes across the river. And then BD Solar will probably be a wash because we had to decrease it last year. Then it got back to increased, and then we depreciated a little bit for age, wear and tear. That's a typical setup. What else did I have? The hydro dam, that's what I'm waiting to hear from. We do have a professional appraiser doing that for us this year. That's too big for me.
So that chunk of the tax base may not help much for all the rest of us.
That's a good point. I have a feeling, I'm pretty sure in what I've been researching that the industrial properties will see an increase in the industrial park and on the outskirts. I believe those. We have seen an addition on FW Web. There's a couple of other little things that have added Maine Crisp. We've added value to that, substantial value. So we will be getting some increase on that, but yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yes.
Nope.
Just out of curiosity, Brenda, how many tax exempt properties do we have in Winslow?
You mean fully exempt? That's a good question, and that's one of my projects too, is to make sure that even though they have increased those values, I have to make sure the exemption brings it down to a zero tax base. But we have, I'd say, let's see, between St. John's Church and a couple of other benevolent charitables, the schools. I'd say maybe 60 properties, but that includes a lot of the town properties that are just maybe parcels and pieces and bits, and I think that's about it.
How often do they have to reapply for tax exemption?
When I request it, so state and town are automatically exempt, and I request updates on exempt properties that are benevolent and charitable. Probably every 5 to 6 years, I have them redo their application, make sure that they're still in compliance, because it's supposed to be a public benefit and a benefit that the town would otherwise have to offer. That's what makes them exempt.
Brenda, I don't think the percentage of our tax exempt property, outside of town property, even compares to what other towns have. We don't have colleges. Fairfield, Waterville does, obviously. We don't have the number of churches that other towns have. So I think our tax exempt properties as a percentage is probably a lot lower than most towns around, I would think.
Well, I understand that, and that's why the
Yeah.
tax base changes
Yeah.
to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want a Cadillac, the public has to provide a Cadillac, is that what I'm understanding? Or do we bring
No.
it back and, no, I digress.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Probably, just in case. All set?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Show of hands.
We're all set.
Thank you for coming.